for today is what is the process, or what are you going to do if you keep on losing? So right at this point in time, Simon, what challenges are you currently facing with your trading? What challenges are you currently facing with trading? So if you can see here, this is a chart. Chart is a chart, right? So doesn't matter whether if you're trading currencies, indices, stocks, or futures, or even options. A chart is a chart. There's only simply two components. You have price, and then you have time. So just for me to be able to assist you as well, Simon, so what do you trade? What do you trade? Indices, got it. Okay, the ES, okay, gotcha. No problem. So let's just to make it more relatable. Okay, so this is the S&P. I love trading you. And the reason being is because it is currently live as well, and it has also the futures price with it. Welcome, Liwei. How you doing, Bala? And Jared, how's it going? So the topic for today is simply what to do when you keep on losing, especially if you lose 3 in a row, 4 in a row. What do you suppose going to do from there? So right at this point in time, what challenges are you guys currently facing when it comes to trading? So that's basically the question. What challenges are you currently facing in trading? So Simon says he trades the ES. I know Jared and Bella, you guys trade the currencies. I know Bella, you also trade options. I know you also trade stocks. Jared, Liwei, what do you trade? Just to make it more, so you also assist me in regards to knowing you know more as well on the other side of things. So what challenges are you guys facing right at this point in time? You can unmute your mic if you wish to. What current challenge? Hey Bella, how you doing?
Hello, good morning. Good morning, Ray. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Bella.
Yeah. So the challenge is how to keep ourselves without an opinion about the market.
Okay, great.
Keep our mind, yeah.
So one of the challenges he said is, oops, let me just cross. Seems to me this is how it translated as, Bala, how to be objective looking at the markets.
Yes.
Better fit? Okay, great.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, so let me address that right now. Let me get rid of that. Use this one. So how to be more objective looking at the markets? Well, perception is simply a very dangerous thing, and the reason being I say that is a thought is a thought. So question is sometimes where does thoughts come from? How can we define a negative thought and a positive thought? First, we need also to define our inner self, or the self, versus the ego of either righteousness, fear, anger, irritation, greed. So those can be translated as the subjectivity within the marketplace. Now, when you're seeing a two-dimensional chart, it's easy to look at it as, because everything is via interpretation, whether we like it or not. So when you interpret a chart, it then creates an opinion. But you know, and I know, opinion doesn't really translate when it comes to trading. The reason being is because the market doesn't really care about you, doesn't care about me, doesn't care about retail traders. It only cares about itself. At the same time, here's how I basically look at it. And we had a really good discussion here actually with Jared about a month ago in one of the group coaching classes. And I also had a big aha moment based on that. Make it this way. All the time we are in a relationship. Like right now, I'm in a relationship with you. I'm talking to you. A relationship, in my opinion, is simply when there is an agreement between two people. That's a relationship. In trading, how can you be in a relationship? Well, if you're at the trading floor, you're in a relationship with a seller if you're choosing to buy. You're in a relationship with a buyer if you are selling. So that's the dynamics that makes a difference, is that when you're at the trading floor, you know who you're dealing with. Someone's buying, someone's selling. You, on the other hand, you are outside that loop. You are here. Institutions are in here, based on trading on the trading floor. Why? They have all the pieces of information in the world. They have all the money in the world. They have all the resources in the world. You, on the other hand, and I, on the other hand, we don't have that. Hence, that's why we interpret it based on our own opinion. It looks like it's going to go up. It feels like it's going to go up. So the thought process of you saying it looks like, it feels like, that's pure subjectivity. That's your own opinion. So the market doesn't care about you. The market doesn't care about me if I think in that way. So when I say that you are in a relationship, we're in a relationship in the markets, especially when you love the markets, but the market doesn't love you. That's a bit different story. It's like you are in a relationship with your loved one, your husband, your wives, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, it doesn't matter who it is, your kids. You love them. In return, either you have some form of expectation that they also love you back, and that if you're not receiving that piece of expectation or the need because you have the lack of need, this is where the negative emotion comes into play, where the manipulation also happens in terms of, why is she not saying she loves me? Why is she not doing this? Why is he not doing that? In order for me to love you, if you give me something in return. So we have these certain expectations within our inner relationships. Likewise, when you're in a relationship with the market, you also have the certain expectation. That part of your interpretation is that, well, I believe it's going to go up because it looks like it's going to go up. And my expectation is that I'm going to sell at a certain price point. This is my selling point. What happens then? Part of your expectation is that you're expecting it to win. You're expecting to make money. What if the market doesn't want to give you part of your expectation? And part of that opinion in terms of expectation is now leading to a loss. What is now the negative impact of that in terms of the result is a negative emotion of either regret, anger, and then it can also be translated as another fear of loss, fear of losing. Like, put your hands up if you have that experience, or even right now, right? So the difference is this: after going to the trading floor and looking at certain things, and Bala, you went with me a few years ago. It's a different ballgame in regards to being on the trading floor, right? So you
Yep.
want to win more, and how can you now be objective? Is staying away of the actual game of trading itself. So in other words, you being outside of here, you cannot be in a relationship where you think that you're going to be buying or be selling. No, because you are the small fish in the open sea. Therefore, if you want to do that, then you need to be an observer. As an observer, a good example is this. Okay. Put an image right there. There's a plant, there's a rose. What color is this rose? Well, if we are observing it from afar, then we can say that it's a red rose. What if the person is colorblind? Maybe it won't be red, someone will say it's orange, right? Why? Because it's a vibe by interpretation of what we see fit. Unless if we all make it as it's red, then it's red, then it's pure objective. Likewise, when you're trading the markets, if I'm going to expand this chart right here, or especially this candle, what's your interpretation? If you're observing this current candle, what would it be? Someone will say it's a doji. Someone will say it's a bullish doji. But if you're going to interpret it as well as what is going to happen, then someone will say a continuation of price to go to the upside, or someone will say we might go sideways, someone will say it's going to drop. That's now subjective because there's no agreement between us as a group whether if this is going to go up or down. Or if we're looking at this current candle, can we all agree that it's a doji? Can we all agree it's a doji? Yes or no? I see it as a doji. Put your hands up if you see it as a doji.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that is a doji. That's objective. Now, someone who doesn't know what a doji is won't be able to translate it as a doji. So the question now is, what is a doji? Well, if it's defined as stability, can we all agree that it's stable? No one's willing to buy, no one's willing to sell. Price is at hold at this point in time because they don't know where to go. So if we can all agree to that, then it's pure objectivity. So when you're being an observer, you're observing price, you're observing where the market is actually doing, whether if the market is holding, then you got to hold. If the market is actually buying, then you got to buy with it. If the market is going to sell, you're going to sell with it. So in other words, you being an observer is like you being that small fish next to the big whale, that if the big whale, it is sitting on the sidelines, you're sitting on the sidelines. And the best analogy that I can basically give is just imagine retail traders are all these sardines that's all been clumped up together. And then this big whale just simply opens its mouth and they don't even realize they're being eaten by the big whale. You as an observer, on the other hand, you're not within that bunch of sardines. You are eating the scraps of what the whale is actually eating. Does it make sense? Simon, does it make sense? Maybe perhaps that's one of the major challenges you're currently facing at this point in time, because yes, books, courses, and like I said, they're all by interpretation. Not unless there is some form of agreement, then you can start to keep seeing yourself as, in terms of your losing trades, will start to be winning trades. So that being said, whether we like it or not, technical analysis is also perhaps a minuscule when it comes to the whole component when you're creating a choice from your decision-making process. What do I mean by that? Because there's three areas that we need to master. One is the technical conditioning component. You have your body conditioning component, your physical conditioning component, and then you have your mental conditioning component. I believe the mental conditioning is around 99.99%. Here's only 0.5. Here's the mind-body continuum, also 0.5. So someone will translate it as, what if we make it as 90%? Yeah, no problem. You can make it as a 90%. Technical conditioning will be 5%. Body conditioning will be 5%. So technical conditioning plays a very small role when it comes to successful trading, in my own opinion, because a chart is a chart. Everything is via interpretation that is simply being inputted based on your own mind. And then the body component is what we call the mind-body continuum, is that trading is not just about pressing buttons. You also need to be in a space of focusedness, balance. Are you hydrated? Did you sleep well? Did you get enough ample rest? Did you eat? What type of food do you eat? And the reason being is because the mind, based on whatever chemical balance you may have or imbalances that you may have, will trigger certain thought processes that will trigger your emotions negatively or positively. So it's not just about looking at a chart and looking at indicators and then following those indicators. It's also, the way how I see it is like the blind leading the blind. So if you're learning what retail traders are also learning in terms of indicators, then of course you're going to be part of this group. But if you're learning things on what institutions are actually looking at, what they're doing, and you're observing based on what they're doing, then you have a higher chance of basically winning. Okay, so that's my own opinion. Of course, that's just my opinion. Opinion is just an opinion. That's also part of my own. That's your, it's via by perception. It's via by experience as well. So how can you then, as a trader, what are the processes that if you keep on losing all the time, what are you supposed to do? Number one is also finding your weaknesses, going through your trades. Okay, just bear with me for 1 second so it can be more translatable. What do I mean by that? So I'm just going to share based on just my own experience itself. Yeah, I've been trading now I started in 1996. I went full-time in 2002. Started teaching approximately around 2006, just mainly like a group of friends. And then got married in 2007, just basically sharing my timeline. Worked with a trading company in 2008 just to know more about how the educational industry works in the US, because Australia is totally different. We just simply follow what Americans basically do. I know that based on world economy, the US is still on the top 5, whether we like it or not. Now, at the same time, institutional trading is so different compared to retail trading. So when I learned how to trade, the mentor or the guy in terms of who was teaching also learned here in the US and was teaching options. So all these things, and at the same time, as a logical type of person, simply I needed to know more as well. Like, it doesn't make sense to buy at retail and sell at retail. I want to buy at wholesale price point or where institutional buyers are actually buying. I will also buy when institutional sellers are also selling. So these are the things that I needed to know. So as part of that, and to finally realize, like, holy moly, and to be on the trading floor, I definitely don't have a chance unless you are on the floor and you have a lot of money basically involved. Other than that, if you don't have enough money and you're trading on a two-dimensional chart and you want to be a day trader, forget it, right? And sometimes people will find ways in order to be smarter and creating mechanical systems. My own opinion, if you don't have at least a minimum of $10,000 to $20,000 a month for subscription base, then your server is not closed at least less than a mile or kilometer away from the stock exchange. You don't have a chance. Why? Because speed plays a big role when it comes to price. So all these things plays a big element. Plus, algorithmic type of trading these days is so huge that if you don't have the proper algorithm, you don't have a chance either. This is why from day trading, I don't day trade per se. I'm more of a swing trader, a trend follower. My minimum time frame is about 4 hours to your daily time frame, 1 hour. It's very seldom unless we choose to trade prior to a report. Then I'll consider myself as well as a momentum trader. And why? Because I'm gaining the momentum based on what institutions are already looking at, or they will already leave clues whether you like it or not, and then you have to backpack with it. So in other words, as an observer, like I said, you're getting the crumbs of what the whale, what institutions are basically eating. Then you have a better chance. So if you keep on losing, number one is you need to know by asking the question, okay, where did I go wrong within this trade? So just give you an example for the past 100 trades of my trades, and I believe that's more than ample enough. My goal is to minimize, see these all big losses right there. This one especially. I had one big loss with the Aussie Japanese yen where I bought 90,000 units that led to negative $700. So that is a big chunk where for the past, I have the Aussie, the euro, the pound. It was at $29, $43, $90, and all of a sudden, bam. Well, if I scroll further down here, notice that I have more winners than losers. However, and notice it's at the same time it's on a positive note, but the thing is that this, that, then there's a big chunk right there of $400. And then you have 70, 30, 18, negative 50, minus 178, they're right there. These are the things that I'm tracking in regards to my performance. So this big one right here, minus 734, I didn't feel good for me. Number one is also now not accepting because I looked into it. There was a really good probability. Everything for me is mathematical based in my own way of trading. And I was willing to risk 10% based on my account. So 734, okay, no problem. Could I have minimized that? Yes. So my learning based on this trade is that to cut the loss before it even hit the stop loss, even though I have that as a form of an acceptance, as part of my trading journal, part of my way of trading. So to minimize this, or to minimize your bigger losses, is also going through your trades and looking at it. So how can you minimize this minus 734? Then here, notice it took me 3 trades, actually 2 trades, because euro dollar was actually 120,000 right there. So 120,000 units, 700, close to $800 in order to compensate that one losing trade of 734. So this is a wash. It's just almost breaking even. I made a profit based on that. So imagine though, if my loss was only say $100 and I made $800, then I would have translated it as another extra $600, $500 on top of my account. So just going through the numbers for me is an important element. I have approximately around 70 to 80% success rate in regards to my own trading. And this is where, if you go to courses, you go to YouTube, you go to whatever you want to go to, every person will tell you, a full-time trader will always tell you that you have to cut your losses short and let the winners run, basically, right? At the same time, though, it is also the emotion of cockiness and arrogance. Notice from 20,000 to 10,000, all of a sudden, bam, I put 90,000 in there. Why? Because I haven't lost like 4 trades in a row. Then all of a sudden, there's one big, all of a sudden, I'm putting a nice big account right there. Same thing over here. There's a one for all of a sudden 60,000. Why? Because I saw the probability as higher. However, my risk is very small. This was based on the lowest high probability. Here was more of a higher risk, and in terms of the stop loss was way bigger. So if I go through, let me look at Aussie Japanese yen. So mind you, once again, a chart is a chart. It doesn't matter whether you're trading here the ES, you're trading Apple, you're trading stocks, futures. So daily time frame. Let me go through a daily time frame so you can actually basically see it. This where it was. It created a nice, beautiful higher low. That's just part of my trading methodology. And the next transition from a higher low should be a new higher high. It didn't want to create a higher high. This was based on news based, and hence it basically tanked. And that's how I got stopped out based on this low right here at 75.38 minus 15. I got my stop loss actually was 75.25. So I got stopped out based on this news based. So number one, I always follow my own set of rules that just in case that I'm not home, I'm out and about, dealing with my kids, having fun, teaching and whatnot, then I'm protected. So this is where it was a low risk, high probability, and hence I took a bigger position. Would have been a much safer position if it wasn't a gravestone doji at the level of demand. Well, gravestone doji, still gravestone doji. I went against the trend, so as a trend follower, technically this is a sell position because of the force through there, but I took the risk that there is going to be, and this is now no longer about my interpretation as an observer. This is now my own expectation based on my own opinion that the market or the Aussie is going to reverse, going to 76.50 based on experience. Like I said, the market doesn't care about my own opinion. Does it make sense there as an example right here? That's why I'm sharing you a live example that opinions, your opinion doesn't matter. The market doesn't care about your own opinion. It only cares what it cares, especially when there's some news-based. If the news is bound to happen, the markets already know anyway what the result is going to be even before you even know it. So it's up to them to really dictate whether the price will drop or will go up. And hence, that's why if you have this sense of feeling of, oh man, and you're blaming the markets, don't blame the markets. At the end of the day, blame yourself, because it's not the markets who is giving you your sense of your own expectation. Remember that your own expectation is based on your own expectation, nobody else. It's like you being in a relationship with your partner. When you're having too much expectation of your own partner and your partner's not giving it to you, and then you're getting angry at your partner, guess what? It's not your partner's fault. At the same time, because of your expectation from your partner now feels manipulated that she or he has to do what you want to do just to make you happy. Who's been there, done that? Hey, I'm guilty of that. And the reason being is because we're not also accepting our own partners. In other words, if that's the case, then you're not accepting the markets the way how it is. It is what it is. That's why if you accept that, then you'll be better off as a basically a really good trader by you accepting what it is, and you're looking in terms of what are you supposed to do as a trader in order for you to improve your own sense of results as a trader. Remember, everything is a reflection of you as a trader. So in other words, if this is me losing $734, then what can I learn from that? What do I need to unlearn from my own learnings, from my own bad habits, in order to move forward to be a better trader? Traders, gurus, there's no such thing, guys, no such thing as a guru trader. It doesn't matter where you're learning it from. Everything that you see online is just simply an illusion where people are just getting you to be part of that, selling their own products. At the end of the day, we are all human beings. We will all make mistakes unless, I mean, even institutions make mistakes, right? So does it make sense? Okay. So other than that, if you can be able to be honest to yourself and say, hey, look, the problem is me. And in order for me to learn what I need to learn, I need to do this, 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 this. So what are the things in terms of learning? Number one is your value systems, your sense of integrity, your sense of discipline, your sense of passion, your desire, you not making excuses for yourself. And hence, that's why traders do not last in this business, is because of the lack of something. They're not willing to look at themselves and being honest with themselves and looking at it in the point of view of a mirror type of system. So even though I teach, I'm not perfect. Who says that we are perfect when it comes to trading? Yes, we are perfect in every way, shape, or form in regards to who our inner self. When I say self, our inner being. But as long as we have that other thought process or that ego going over and over again in regards to the fear, in regards to the greed, in regards to the righteousness, mainly the righteousness. Oh, I know I'm right. Unfortunately, this is where you won't be able to go to the next component in terms of whatever you're searching for when it comes to trading. In my opinion, not just in trading, but in every area of your life. So that is the process. That if you keep on losing, what can you do as a trader? Simply look at oneself, go through it. What can I do in order for me to be a better trader? I had a really big setback last year. It didn't feel good. I lost a big chunk of money that could have paid for my rent for the whole 6 months or for the whole year. And then simply to really think about that for me is a translation. You said, okay, what is going on? I also felt like not walk the walk, talk the talk. I'm teaching all these things, then I'm not following through of my own self either. So these are the things, as well as a form of self-reflection in terms of me as a trader, is simply, okay, what do I need to learn more from this? What do I need to do more? How can I just make it work? And at the end of the day, it's about the awareness, the self-awareness of my inner thoughts, of my inner being, and then to get rid of the ego once again in terms of the righteousness. So, but at least it might have been a, say for example, this, if such a big loss, then also need to find the courage and the confidence to go back in again and to look at it and just be and looking at it like, okay, I made a loss here at $700. I need to get that back. If you have the lack of persistence and you've been just imagine someone punch you so hard in the face and then you just falter down and you give in, then that will be a loss. However, you say and you go back and you said, you know what? Screw you, market, or screw you, whoever is out there. It was a loss. I accept it. I move on. I'm gonna get the next one and I'm gonna make a big trade. Bam. But imagine the amount of courage though, not using your own emotions of simply what we call revenge trading. Yes, it sounds like a revenge trade, but at the same time, when opportunity is given to you, you have to have that level of confidence to take it without that fear. Because if you lost, what happens in most cases when you're already lost? What happens to the level of confidence? So what happens to your level of confidence if you lose a trade?
Goes down.
Absolutely. Whether you like it or not, your level of confidence basically drops. Why? Just imagine someone's basically punched you. Or the worst part is this. That's why I also have an anti-bullying self-defense program basically for kids, because I've seen it where it all translates. Bullying happens at a young age, and kids are very mean. I've been bullied once in high school, but because of martial arts, I never I never backed out. My dad was the same. My dad was a very good supporter of part of who I am today and gave me a lot of great advice. He's a big 6 foot Aussie guy. Just because I'm 5'9". Well, during the time I was 5'8". Pushed me, kept pushing. Every time I have the ball, keeps nudging. And I already warned him. I said, "Hey, stop." I said, "I don't like what you're doing." Gave me a big smile. He's like a little grin. And just because he's about 5'11", 6, nudged me again. And I said, and I gave him another warning. And I said, "Stop." Next thing you know, did it again, even before he actually did it. Bam, I gave him a big back kick, and he went flying halfway to the basketball court. Ever since that day, nobody bullied me, and because nobody knew that I was a black belt, I was competing already at a high elite level. And then he went down, I told him, I said, "I told you to stop." You see, sometimes it takes physical violence in order to gain respect, and that happens at a young age. You'll see kids bullying other kids, and the reason being humans, whether we like it or not, we have animal instincts. You have alpha male and the non-alpha male or female, and they can sense based on instinct whether if the person is weak or not. A person has enough confidence, good energy level, they'll leave him alone. But when your kid has no sense of confidence, they're the ones that get picked on. And they get picked on, and it goes to middle school, goes to high school, it translates all the way to university, all the way to the working environment, all the way, then all of a sudden they start to trade. Bam, they don't realize then why am I keep on losing, and they have the lack of confidence. On the other hand, and this is where I created the anti-bullying self-defense program for schools, is just to educate kids what's right and what's wrong when in regards to there's a difference between bullying and tattletaling and conflict. So if they can define or they can differentiate between bullying and conflict, then that's a good thing. And also to help kids in regards to express themselves through verbal communication as a form of verbal self-defense. Stop it. I don't like that. Some kids, you will see it, is because they'll just be quiet. That also being translated through their upbringing based on domestication. When I say domestication, from their parents, from family. So that's where it all stems from. So not unless parents as well would be able to guide their kids. Well, in most cases, living here in Silicon Valley, parents work how many hours a day? 12 hours a day. Sometimes they get home late, and hence also kids act out. They're seeking for some form of attention. To get that attention is getting all these things at school to get the attention to be significant, basically as part of their own. And that's part of their personality. It's actually their persona, right? The mask. That's how it creates their own behavior. And then from there, it translates, like I said, to elementary, and then from elementary to middle school, high school, and all these things you can see. And when you get to high school, people want to be belonged. Kids want to be belonged. teenagers want to be belong, hence the popularity contest. And it becomes more of a self-conscious component. And then all of a sudden, once all these layers has being created, as I call it, the onion principle, and then being translated in their 20s and now their 30s, get married, and then guess what? The same habitual practice was being transferred or being taught to their kids, and their kids will taught within their kids. It becomes now culture. That's how cultures are being formed. And now, and why I'm sharing with this with you guys is because when you're trading, you have some certain domestication that you've learned within yourself that created a habit, either a good habit or a bad habit, that created a limiting belief or supporting belief. It is not your fault, on the other hand, it's because you learned it. Now, not to all these things that you learn it based on your own, hence the lack of confidence, hence the fear, hence the anxiety, hence the greed, hence all these components, the righteousness. This is what we call the ego that is being masked as part of your personality. So when it's been your inner self as a child and you create all these layers, and then that's why the confidence, is when you see a child, right? When you see a baby born child, so cute, all the attention is within the child. They learn how to turn around from being their backs to their stomachs, then they're on their knees and start to crawl, then start to stand up. Parents will say, hey, and families, oh, look at that, he's trying to stand up, trying to walk. Yeah, go ahead, go for it. They're being supported. The child starts to smile. Why? Because then the child knows that he's got a lot of love and support. Then all of a sudden, when the child starts to learn to walk, starts to run, what did the child know, or the parents normally say out to the child? That's part of what they say to the child.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Stop. All of a sudden, the limitation starts to happen. If you see a child's face when you do that, they look at the parents weird, like, what? They can't speak, but you can see it in their physiology. Then all of a sudden, they're like, what is going on? At the beginning, you're telling me that go for it, then now you're telling me to stop? Remember, kids, they don't have the filter between what's right and what's wrong, what's left and what's right. There's nothing in between. Either you tell them and they will say, is it true? They will believe whatever you say. Why? Because there's no filtering. So that, in terms of the domestication, has already been started at a young age. This is why whatever challenges you're having right now is based on the domestication that you've learned, part of your culture, within your own family. Basically, it happened at school, or it basically happened somewhere else that created inside and got down into your subconscious. The subconscious has been recorded, and it pops up over and over again, right? So that's what's happening. So if you keep losing all the time, it is part of your domestication of whatever limiting belief systems that you have internally on your subconscious mind. It's up to you, though, to unlearn those. The question is how? Well, this is where the coaching process basically is where it's important. You doing it by yourself, it wouldn't work. It would, but it takes time, not unless you start as part of your reflection process. You're reflecting upon your own mistakes and how you can unlearn to learn from the mistake. Mainly learn from mistake, unlearn it to learn new habits. Remember, thoughts are just stories that you create in your head. Thoughts are just thoughts. The question is, where's the thought coming from? The thought is coming from an experience happening in the past, either a good experience or a bad experience. And then within that thought process, or if something new that you're seeing, and then you start to criticize, you start to judge, like you're judging the markets and criticizing the markets, you're creating a story. Every opinion that you make is a story based on your expectation of what you want from the marketplace. Same as in your relationships with your partners, your husbands, your girlfriends, your kids, your work, your boss. It's all about expectation. The markets. unless you get out of that and be an observer, then things will basically change. To be an observer, it takes a lot of acceptance. It takes a lot of getting rid of the righteousness or the ego component. That's how you can make it objective, looking at a market as objectively balanced. Sorry for the long explanation, but I had to go through all that in order to get the process done, what to do if you keep on losing. Questions? Hey, Charles, great to see you online. Leeway, any questions? Bala, Jared? Did you find that helpful?
Yes, it is.
I'm all good here.
I'm good. Yeah. I'm good here too.
Charles, did you find that helpful? Leeway, did you find that helpful? Yes, no? All right. Well, if there's no questions, guys, well, thank you for coming along. I hope that assisted you on what to do if you keep on losing. Thank goodness I recorded this, so you can watch it again if you wish to. And yeah, enjoy and happy trading, guys. See you soon.
Thank you, Ray.
Thanks, Ray.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.